Under no circumstances should you ever allow an alien species with tentacles, 16 contradictory codes of conduct, and a chronic misunderstanding of sarcasm to be in charge of military decisions. And yet, here we are. The Grand Chamber of the Intergalactic Council of Sentient and Marginally Sentient Life Forms was in chaos again. This time, however, it wasn't because someone had accidentally microwaved a Grolic egg, which explodes with the force of a small moon. No, this time it was worse. Much worse. You attacked a human colony, bellowed Arch-Chancellor Florindrell, whose name sounded like a sneeze and whose social skills were equivalent to a damp rock. His eye stalks trembled in a way that made the janitor start mopping early. Ambassador Voot, a translucent amphibid from the Plugic Empire, tried to smile, which was unfortunate, because Plugic smiles involved extruding a gland from the neck, and half the room fainted. It was an accident. Root gurgled, holding up what appeared to be a charred data tablet. We thought it was a rogue asteroid base with unusually aggressive gardening equipment. That was Tortuga 9. Screamed someone from the Glorindian bench, which was mostly there for snacks. It even had a tourism brochure. Root flipped through his notes frantically. Is that the one with the giant rubber duck on the landing pad? Yes. Then I definitely see how we might have misinterpreted things. This statement was met with the kind of silence that usually precedes planetary evacuations. Ambassador Grint of the Sentient Crystals of Vander vibrated ominously. Do you have any idea what happens when you attack humans? Yes, Voot offered. They issue a strongly worded communique. Grint leaned forward, the room darkening slightly. They laugh. That was true and also disturbing. Humans had a peculiar defense mechanism where they would laugh harder the more dangerous things got. They laughed during meteor showers. They laughed during famine. They even laughed during mandatory tax briefings. And then they started building things. You've doomed us all, screeched Yeltras, a being composed entirely of hair and bad decisions. They'll send Kevin. A collective shiver passed through the chamber. Kevin was a child. Possibly. No one was sure. What was certain, however, was that the last time Kevin had been involved, a moon ended up orbiting upside down, and the Polarian Navy fled screaming into a wormhole. Root blinked. You're seriously afraid of a human child? You haven't met Kevin, Grint said, his voice low and grave, like an overcooked Soul collapsing in slow motion. Voot sank into his gelatinous seat, leaking stress pheromones. Surely they'll understand it was a mistake. Oh, they understood last time too, murmured Florindrell, whose own species had only just recovered from the incident with the flamethrower-equipped kittens. The council erupted into overlapping shouting. Legal waivers, planetary evacuations, requests to be temporarily reclassified as furniture. A mushroom-shaped delegate from the Zon Confederation began filing for asylum in its own home world. And in the corner, the Galactic Interpreter, a bored-looking robot named Philip Model 2 CDU, translated everything with the dull tones of someone who had long since given up on hope. Summary: you poked the bear with a fork made of bees. Voot stood up, wobbling. Look, we'll apologize. We'll send flowers or meat. Humans like meat, right? You don't even know what planet they're on right now. Then we'll just wait and see what happens. There was another collective silence. This one was even heavier, like the moment before someone opens a suspiciously ticking package labeled definitely not a bomb. Fleendrill turned to the galactic map and pressed a tentacle against a blinking red icon labeled Tortuga 9, population unreasonably armed. Then the screen began flashing. Incoming transmission from Tortuga 9. The incoming transmission began with static, followed by the unmistakable sound of someone gurgling coffee. Is this thing on? It better be, because I swear if I have to fix this comms unit one more time. A loud clank. More static, and a voice clear now and brimming with the kind of sarcasm that could melt tungsten. This is Commander Slade Metroid of Tortuga 9. If you're calling to sell me an extended warranty for the orbital shields, you're 37 years too late. If this is about the unprovoked orbital strike that melted our parking lot, let me say nice shot, you barely missed Charles' taco stand, which would have triggered the apocalypse. Silence in the Grand Chamber. Everyone was listening. Even the Gorbindians stopped chewing. Commander Murgatroyd continued. Let's get a few things straight. Tortuga 9 is not a strategic asset or a military installation. We are in fact a colony of retirees, caffeine addicts, and one very angry dentist. We raise genetically modified turnips and argue about board games. But, and this is crucial, we are also human. At the word, several council members flinched, which means that when you bomb us, we don't run. We don't negotiate. We don't call our lawyers, mainly because our last lawyer exploded during karaoke night. No, we improvise, we organize, and then we build stuff. A secondary voice interrupted, high-pitched and childlike. Can I push the red button now? Kevin, no, shouted Murgatroyd, followed by a muffled explosion and someone yelling about eyebrows. Council delegates leaned back instinctively. Even the crystalline Grant looked like he was trying to quietly leave through the floor. The transmission resumed with someone coughing. Anyway, we're alive, irritated, and thanks to Kevin, slightly more flammable than usual. Voot whispered to his aide. They sound completely unhinged. Oh, that's just the beginning, the aide muttered. Back on Tortuga 9, the camera feed shifted, now visible. A colony that looked like someone had crossbred a spaceship with a flea market. People moved through the chaos with purpose. A group of elderly women in tactical aprons welded something that looked suspiciously like a cannon made from plumbing. A dog in a lab coat barked once, and then typed something on a keyboard. Here's the thing, Metroid said, stepping aside to reveal a large, ominous-looking machine glowing faintly purple. You hit us. You hit us, which means by every known article of Terran protocol, we now have full moral authority to make your life complicated. The purple machine hissed. You may not know this, he continued, but humanity is powered by two things, spite and bad ideas. And right now, both are operating at peak capacity. Voot started hyperventilating through his gills. We were told they were mostly peaceful. They are, whispered a counselor. Peaceful until you do something stupid. The screen flickered now. It showed Kevin again, holding the toaster modified into a portable railgun. I named it Muffin, Kevin said proudly. Voot leaned forward. Did that child just arm a toaster? Yes, said Grant grimly, and now you understand the stakes. Meanwhile, Murgatroyd addressed the galaxy one last time before signing off to the Intergalactic Council. We'll be seeing you soon. To the Plugex. Congratulations. You just earned our undivided attention, and to whoever programmed this comm system. You're fired. The screen cut to black. 3 hours after the broadcast, Tortuga 9 looked exactly like what it was. A colony under siege, manned by people who had absolutely no business surviving an intergalactic conflict, but somehow kept doing it anyway. Commander Murgatroyd sipped from a dented mug that read World's Leader and stared at the wreckage of what had once been the colony's official landing pad. Now it was a mess of craters, twisted metal, and half a hover bicycle embedded in the side of the town bakery. We repaired the drone launcher using parts from Cheryl's deep fryer, reported Chief Engineer Huxley Splint, whose idea of safety gear was wearing 2 belts and calling it armor. Also, the solar array is now powered by Rage. Kevin rewired it. Murgatroyd nodded slowly. I don't know what that means, but I assume it'll catch fire. It already did, said Kevin, materializing out of nowhere and handing him a blueprint drawn in crayon. 3 times, but it works now. Mostly. I'm not reading this, Murgatroyd said. You don't have to, Kevin replied with unsettling cheer. The machine reads you. From the edge of the control station, Dr. A's Nord, dentist, part-time philosopher, full-time pessimist sighed heavily. We are arming to retaliate against a technologically superior alien race with what? Friars, sarcasm, and the violent imagination of a 12-year-old. 11 3/4, Kevin corrected. Murgatroyd tapped the comms console, now permanently fused to an espresso machine. We're not retaliating. We're responding with creativity, improvisation, and most importantly, surprise, said Haversnaw, adjusting his dental drill ominously. So insanity, precisely. Outside, the colonists were busy. Gertrude Grimm, age 86 and president of the Neighborhood Passive-Aggressive Committee, was welding armor plating to the front of her mobility scooter. If I go down, I'm taking at least 2 squid bastards with me, she muttered, duct taping a flamethrower to the handlebars. A group of teenagers converted a weather balloon into a surveillance drone that broadcast an interpretive dance. The robot janitor, Blap 7, had upgraded itself with a garbage disposal unit now capable of launching forks at supersonic speed. Even the goats were involved. No one remembered bringing goats to Tortuga 9, but they had somehow become self-aware and were now guarding the perimeter with surprising competence. Meanwhile, in the colony's subterranean bunker, also known as Kevin's basement. The plan was unfolding with the kind of chaotic logic only humans could muster. So Kevin said, flipping a switch labeled "Do Not Flip." We lure them in with a fake distress beacon. Once they land, we trigger Operation Confetti Tsunami. Murgatroyd stared. That sounds harmless. Kevin grinned. It's made of razor-thin mylar, coated in itching powder and static charge. At least 6 treaties consider it an act of war. What's the backup plan? There isn't one, said Kevin. That is the backup plan. Dr. Haversnaw muttered something about dental school not preparing him for this. Back at the control tower, Huxley yelled, Commander, we've got incoming missiles. Nope, a diplomatic envoy. Looks like a Plugek ship. They're hailing us. Murgatroyd squinted. Let me guess. They want to apologize. The screen flickered to life, revealing Ambassador Root, drenched in sweat and holding what appeared to be a fruit basket. Humans of Tortuga 9, he began, voice cracking. We offer you peace and fruit. Mostly peace. Kevin leaned into the camera. Do the bananas explode? Root blinked. No. Then we're not interested. The screen cut out. Murgatroyd sighed. Well, I hope they pack more than fruit, because above Tortuga 9 in orbit, several other ships had started to arrive. Some curious, some concerned, and one just there for the popcorn. Ambassador Voot stood on the dusty ground of Tortuga 9, clutching the now squished fruit basket like a shield. The bananas were leaking. His translator necklace blinked nervously, as if it, too, knew this mission was doomed. Greetings, he squeaked, trying to ignore the suspicious clicking sound coming from the box, labeled Unstable, Do Not Jostle, that had been humming ominously since he arrived. Standing opposite him was Commander Murgatroyd, flanked by Dr. Haversnaw, and a teenager with a flamethrower backpack who was humming what sounded like the theme to an ancient Earth cartoon. Behind them, the colony shimmered in its unique blend of junkyard chic and barely contained chaos. Voot cleared his throat, which for a Plugek involved inflating a gland in his neck that promptly made a farting noise. We come in peace. Metroid nodded slowly and exploded our parking lot. A navigational miscalculation. Haversnaw snorted. You dropped the kinetic payload on our public restrooms. Kevin hasn't pooped indoors in 4 days. Wasn't planning to anyway. Kevin chirped, waving a wrench that looked like it had been sharpened. Voot tried to maintain composure. We wish to express regret. Deep, sincere, bureaucratically notarized regret. Murgatroyd folded his arms. Did you just say bureaucratically notarized? Yes, Voot said, producing a scroll the size of a small tree, signed in triplicate, countersigned by the Minister of Accidental Hostilities. Kevin leaned in. Is there a Minister of On-Purpose Hostilities too? There is, Root admitted, sweating now. He's very busy. Before Metroid could reply, a shrill beeping interrupted the scene. Huxley's voice crackled over the comms. Commander, sensors picked up a second Plugek ship approaching from the far side of the planet. It's not broadcasting any friendly signals. Define not friendly, Murgatroyd muttered. It's charging weapons and playing opera at full volume. Over V, palled to a sickly lavender. That must be Captain Drac. He's less diplomatic. You brought a backup ship full of warmongers to your apology tour. Haversnaw asked. I didn't bring him. V cried. He follows me around ever since I stole his stapler. The air shimmered. Kevin whispered. He's coming. From the sky, a dark triangle descended, bristling with cannons and bad intentions. The opera grew louder now, clearly a dramatic alien tenor screaming about vengeance, lost umbrellas, or possibly taxes. The colony scrambled. Alarm sirens blared and then died halfway through when Kevin tripped over the power cord. Gertrude Grimm mounted her scooter can and sped into position, yelling something about vengeance and bingo. Murgatroyd turned to Voot. You're staying here. You started this mess. I have no military training. Perfect. You'll fit right in. As the second Pluvik ship landed with a theatrical hiss, its ramp extended, and out stomped Captain Drag, a Beitel tank with armor plating, a ceremonial cape, and the confidence of someone who had never been told no. Where is the human general? He boomed. That would be me, Metroid said, stepping forward. Though technically I'm more of a part-time leader, full-time coffee enthusiast. Drag snorted. I demand retribution for the shameful fruit rejection. Are you seriously mad about the bananas? They were a peace offering. They were bruised. Murgatroyd glanced at Kevin. Can we insult his ship instead? Kevin nodded and raised a remote. Say the word. Word. A tremendous whoosh echoed across the valley as an improvised glitter bomb launched from behind the colony's outhouse. It struck Drag's ship with pinpoint accuracy, coating it in shimmering pink dust that spelled "I love hugs" across the hull. Drag screamed, "You desecrate my war vessel." It was Kevin's idea, Murgatroyd said helpfully. Also, he has a toaster with anger issues. Kevin waved Muffin. Voot fainted. Captain Drag did not take glitter well. That is to say, he reacted to it much like a volcano reacts to someone poking it with a stick and calling it names. You think this is a joke? He roared, stomping forward and leaving crater-like footprints in the dry soil. The glitter clung to him like an affectionate parasite, sparkles embedded in every seam of his war armor. One of the letters on his chest now read, "I Hugh," with the last part obscured by what might have been barbecue sauce. Commander Murgatroyd took a slow, meditative sip from his mug. In fairness, we don't think it's a joke. We know it's a joke. Behind him, Kevin silently pressed another button on his remote. A nearby pile of tires exploded into a puff of cinnamon-scented fog. No one commented on it. Things exploded on Tortuga 9 so regularly that unless someone lost a limb or acquired one, no one paid much attention. Drag snarled, "You dare mock the honor of the Plugek Imperial Fleet." "You blew up our restrooms," Metroid reminded him. "So yeah, I demand trial by combat." Haversnaw groaned. "That again?" Drag pointed a massive claw. "You will send forth your champion." Gertrude Grimm's scooter revved. "No," Murgatroyd said quickly, intercepting her before she could launch a preemptive strike. Kevin raised his hand. "I volunteer." Murgatroyd paused. "Kevin, you are legally banned from all organized conflict after the incident with the cheesecake tank." "That wasn't my fault." Kevin protested. "The tank had feelings." "Kevin, I trained Muffin for this." Metroid turned to Drag. "Would you accept a duel with a toaster-wielding preteen?" Drag blinked. "I suppose." Too late. Kevin had already stepped into the improvised arena, the parking lot crater still smoking slightly from last week's light tea tactical renovation. He held Muffin in both hands, like a sacred artifact. His toaster glowed faintly, its sides etched with crayon sigils and what appeared to be duct tape runes. Drag entered the crater with the ceremonial Plugeg battle chant, which sounded like someone gargling marbles while falling down the stairs. He pulled a plasma axe from his back and struck a pose that suggested both violence and lower back pain. "Begin!" shouted someone, probably Huxley. Drag charged. Kevin tripped. This accidental maneuver saved his life. The axe whooshed above his head, missing by inches. Kevin rolled sideways, came up swinging, and hurled Muffin directly at Drag's face. The toaster hit with a satisfying thunk, and then exploded in a shower of sparks. Burnt toast, and a note that read "Surprise, Drag." Kevin reeled. What was that? Kevin stood triumphantly. Second breakfast. The crowd of colonists erupted in cheers. Even Blap 7 beeped approvingly and fired a celebratory fork into the air. Drag stumbled out of the crater, his armor smoking, pride singed, glitter now fused to his shoulders. "This is an outrage," he barked. "This violates every rule of intergalactic dueling." Voot, who had regained consciousness just in time to witness the toaster explosion, squeaked. "It's technically legal under Clause 47 bits of the Unorthodox Weaponry Addendum, I think." Drag snarled at him. "Traitor." Voot shrugged helplessly. "You brought glitter to a toaster fight." Drag looked around at the increasingly armed colony, the array of absurd contraptions, the smiling, slightly unhinged humans, and realized something critical. This wasn't war, it was performance art with explosives. "I will return with a fleet," he bellowed. "You do that," Metroid replied. "Bring marshmallows. It'll be a show."